right, everyone, welcome back to another edition of Ambassador Spotlights. This is the first one for our 2026 100-Day Challenge, and I'm here today with Cayla Wright. And Cayla is a very accomplished person. I had to check with her ahead of time on her credentials. I tried to get all of them in my research ahead of time, and of course, I didn't find all of them. So correct me if I have them all here, Cayla. You are an IHP2. You are an occupational therapist,
Mhm.
a certified holistic nutritionist, and a certified yoga instructor. Is that everything?
You've got them all.
Okay. Yeah. So very impressive person. You do a lot within the community, within the whole ecosphere, actually. I think most people are probably familiar with you because you kind of pop up everywhere, which is a great thing. So, but for anyone who isn't familiar with you, Cayla, just please introduce yourself and tell people about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You got all of them right. Those are it. That's what I'm up to. That's what I do. I kind of incorporate all those things into practice, which we can kind of talk more about. I have been, in this space for it feels like longer than it's been, but it's really been, I think, only like 3 or 4 years at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Getting into all of that, a little bit more about me. I guess those are my background things. I had my own like crazy health journey that led me into where I am and in this place today. But right now, I run my own virtual practice, and it has just like grown significantly over the last 3 years to a point that I do have now a team underneath me. I have some practitioners with me that help me support like different clients and things at this point. And pretty much right now, that is my life. I absolutely love everything about it. I'm so passionate about it. But like, it's funny when you say like about me, I was actually just thinking about what are my hobbies? Like last night, I was like actually thinking about what do I like to do? And I feel like it's usually involved around, oh, connecting with people in the community and like doing things related to helping people heal. And I'm like, what else do I like to do? But I guess like a little bit about me, that's kind of it. I do teach yoga throughout the week, so that's maybe my like fun hobby in a sense, per se. And then yeah, otherwise I'm mostly just like working with clients and, supporting my team as well too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you touched upon it a little bit, and I won't, make you talk about anything you don't feel comfortable about talking about, but like how did you get interested in integrative health? I know you mentioned that you had some health issues that you were dealing with. That's a very, 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 very common thread amongst pretty much everybody in our community.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you how much you want to reveal, or just you can kind of skip ahead to the practitioner part. So I'll give you the latitude there.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm super open. If anybody does follow me on Instagram, you can just see like in my top posts, I like share all about my story. I tell people all the time. I talk to my clients all about it too. So super open book with my whole experience, but pretty much my whole entire life, I have dealt with a lot of just like gut-based issues and things. And I never thought they were such a problem because the doctors kind of just like covered it up and they're like, I don't know, it's fine. You'll grow out of it, like situation. And I didn't think it was that bad until it did get that bad, like a few years ago, where I was dealing with so many like GI based issues. I was super bloated all the time. My stomach hurt all the time. I had acid reflux so bad I used to have to sleep upright at nighttime. And like those kinds of things were like rippled into so much. And I was in college at the time as well. So it was like really debilitating for me because it took me away from my ability to like also enjoy my life. But it rippled into a lot where I started dealing with like brain fog and fatigue and anxiety. And I got like these rashes all over my face. And like, I grew up with eczema my whole entire life and like my cycle imbalances, my hair falling out of my head. It was just like legit everything. And it just kept going and going and going and spiraling. And there was just like a point that I hit that I tried to go to all the doctors and the specialist and the this, and they just kept giving me some sort of medication or a topical cream, or they were like, restrict your diet more, or, I don't even know, let's do some invasive procedure, or they told me to take birth control for my skin issues. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. So that's kind of when I got to that point. I was like, okay, I have to do something different here. Like, I can't keep living like this. And I've always been into like the health space. Like, I grew up as a competitive dancer. And so there's a whole thing with like the body around that, like, and all of those kinds of things growing up. But I always was just like super into like taking care of myself and whatever that looked like. And then there was a point again where it like just got like really bad. I did all of that. And then I did actually go see like a naturopathic doctor. I did go see, try the holistic side of things, but I kind of still like in the space that we're in, and it's hard to educate on this because now I do this, but I did feel like I was still kind of getting that like band-aid approach, but just with like a ton of supplements thrown at me or like restrict your diet more. And I was like, okay, this is not sustainable, but I do feel like there's something more to this that I should grasp onto. And then, I just kind of kept going through my own things. I became the yoga instructor. I became an occupational therapist. I became a holistic nutritionist, and I started utilizing like food as medicine in a way. And I was like, oh, this is like changing my life. Like, my acid reflux mostly like went away, and I was like, okay, this is great. But a lot of other things still progressed for me. Like my skin was really, really bad. And then I came across a podcast on I don't know what I think I was just like looking up like health coaching, or I don't know what it was, but Rebecca Flack, which I'm sure everybody hopefully knows her at this point.
Well known in this community.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she was doing an interview with somebody, and she was talking about it. I was like, what is this? Like I could do functional lab testing and all these things because I always wanted to like do more, and I was like, do I have to go back to become a doctor to be able to do these things? And it was the craziest thing when I heard that, and I just dove into it. I ended up meeting with her via Zoom, and then pretty much from there the rest was history, where I actually joined the program and finished level 1 and then level 2. And at that point in time I was able to do a lot of testing on myself, and I found out I had mold toxicity, heavy metal toxicity. I've done so many organic acids tests on clients at this point. I've never seen somebody surpass my fungal overgrowth in my life. So I had the worst fungal overgrowth, and I also had like a huge parasite problem and like kind of like cell dysfunction too. And it took a lot of time really because when I was a newer practitioner, I was still trying to like figure things out, and so there was definitely that trial and error for me, which I was the test of it all. I felt like so it took a little bit
You
longer
were
than.
your first client.
Yes, I was my first
Yeah.
client. And now that I see with like others, it's obviously a bit more rapid because I like know what I'm doing a little bit more in that sense. But with that, yeah, that's kind of where like my journey, what led me into it. But everything I've ever done has always been like health related in a sense. And now here we are, which is just like crazy to be where I am today.
That's awesome. So shout out to Becky Flack there. That was interesting. I didn't expect that, but it just goes to show the reach the community has. And that's what it's all about, really. Just curious, like your like mold issues, was that from your environment? Like, did you get to the bottom of that? Again, you don't have to if there's anything you're
Yeah.
comfortable talking about. I'm just kind of curious.
No, I'm
'Cause-
happy to share anything. Yeah. So I actually grew up in so the reason I had eczema growing up, I had eczema right when I was like literal born, basically. I mean, I don't know if right when I was born, but pretty much when I was a baby, I had it. And we never knew why. And that of course accumulated into so many other things. But I did grow up in a home that the basement was filled with mold, like
Mm,
completely moldy. I can like
yeah,
envision the smell of it still to this day.
yeah, yeah.
And I am so sensitive still to this day to like moldy environments. Like I get congested and I can notice
Hmm.
when things like I have to just do certain things for myself before entering those kinds of environments in a way at this point. But I did grow up in that home, I think for what, 12 years. That was like my childhood home in a sense. And that is definitely where that surfaced from and what led me to like, leading to like autoimmune kind of things and like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was growing up, I was in my environment completely.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I know we were talking before we started this about our Northeast upbringings, and it's very common to have basements in the Northeast, as opposed to like in Florida where I lived for a while. There's no basements in Florida; it just doesn't exist. Not to say there's no mold in Florida, because there is. Actually a
Yeah.
lot with all the moisture and humidity. But um, yeah, it's a very common thing to have a basement when you're from the Northeast or even the Midwest. And as people know, when you're kind of below ground and it's a little things don't dry out completely, that's where you get mold. So I was like curious if that was kind of the root of it, and it's funny. I didn't want to like assume that's where it came from, but like going back to our conversation prior to this, I was like, I wonder if she had like a moldy basement, like a lot of Northeast people do. And
Yep,
sure enough.
totally. Yeah, it used to like flood all the time was the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, exactly. So
You
there,
just
yeah, and you have
always
the
I
sump
remember
pump and
pump it out.
everything. Yeah,
Yep,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a very common thing. I mean, I'm sure, for people who watch this, a lot of people will know that if they live in that area of the country, but some people who live elsewhere are probably like, what? But it's like a thing. Especially, and then there's a lot of older houses as well, which I
Yep.
think contribute to it as well. But so moving on, what would you say is like the first step in starting your health coaching business? Like, what's the most important first step for you to take, or for
Oh my
someone to take,
goodness.
I should say?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that what I've seen for a lot too, and me coming from like a recovering perfectionist type A type person, I say like the biggest thing is to just start the thing and stop trying to be perfect to start it. Because I think what happens is, for me, it's like the point that where I am in my business and having a team and all of these things and getting things in place. I was not in this place when I started, and it was kind of like a getting a little bit scrappy a bit and just like putting things together and putting it out there. Because if I look back even at my social media, like from the bottom to where it is now, the post to me, I'd be like, I would never post something like that, right? But like I did that to just like start, and it wasn't the best and it wasn't the greatest, but it got me started and it got the word out there. And then over time is where you fine tune those skills. And that's just one example with social media. And same with like, for me, I have a full on program now that people go through with like modules and things. It didn't start that way. I just started taking clients and educated them like so much on the calls because that's just where I started until I was able to build more and have like platforms and things to be able to host and give them more education and build like a community. But like, I never would have thought that I'd be where I am now. It was like a dream vision versus like me just starting was just like taking clients. I didn't even have the like great packages or anything. It was just like, here, let's try to do this. Let's try to get some clients, get my like things out there, and then from there building on it. Because if you try to be like perfect, I see that all the time, you're just never going to begin,
Yeah,
Nobody.
it's paralysis by analysis.
Yeah,
And as
totally.
a fellow type A, I definitely understand what you're talking about. Um,
That's so
what were
funny.
some trepidations to get started? I know you kind of touched on it already, but probably trying to be too perfect, and then, you're afraid that you're not quite up to snuff. So then, it helps you, or it prevents you from starting, I should say. But any other trepidations that you had when you started besides that, or maybe just, more along those lines?
Yeah, I think so on the side of like getting started and feeling it's more of like it was an internal thing. It's almost like what is it? Imposter syndrome in a
Yeah.
sense, right? And I hear this all the time from others and new
Yeah,
practitioners.
this is like the most common thing I hear
Most
from
common.
everybody.
Yeah, of like, can I
And
help
doesn't mean it's not valid. It's
you?
it's very valid. If anything, it means it's extremely valid because everybody feels it. But
Hmm.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, no, I hear it all the time too. Even like when I go to like RHS and I like talk to others and they're like, how did you just whatever? Or like, if you're still dealing with the symptom, how could you help somebody else? And it's like,
Yeah.
have to not like, honestly, I think when you're still dealing with it, you're almost more helpful to people because you can relate in that moment in a sense, but you still know what you're doing to kind of get to that other side in a weird sort of sense. But I would say that was definitely something that I had to overcome like years back when I was still going through like my healing journey and I knew I was like I'm feeling a lot better. I know this stuff works. My stuff is a little bit more in depth maybe than some others. And so that was something that I had to push through and just be like, okay, you know what? Like a lot of people don't know what I know. They didn't do this training and I know that I can help them. And so like pushing past that like fear or thinking that like they think I don't know something when I'm like, no, I know. And so that was kind of like me talking myself up. I would say like the mindset side of things is probably the hardest thing in business, 1000%. If you do not have the right mindset, it's nearly impossible to succeed, in my opinion, from
Hmm.
where I am.
Yeah. No,
Truly.
for sure, for sure. And how did you go about growing your client base? So, like, you said you got your initial clients and you kind of just jumped in and tried to help them as best you could. But then how did you go from just, I'm assuming your clients were just some people you knew or maybe family friends. That's usually how it starts for most people. But then how did you go take the next step and start actually growing that client base and morphing it into something that more resembles a business versus just kind of a hobby or, something you're doing on the side?
Yeah, I really put for me like my eye on instead of like I tend to want to do multiple things at once, and this probably is from me growing up of just like doing multiple things all the time, like never like I could never just I was like dancing and then I would work two jobs and then I had school and it was just like that was like how I was and I was the same way in college, it just like kept like stumbling in that sort of sense. And I think that that can be great because I definitely feel like I can handle a lot of different things at once in that way. But on the same side of it, when getting started, I think that where maybe people fall short, I could say, is that we're putting our attention on too many things and then we're not good at anything, you
Yeah.
know? And so I would say for me, like I really put my attention on my social media because for when I started, I initially was trying to do events and be in person and do this thing and do that thing. And then I was like, and then I tried to do TikToks. And for me, it just came back to, okay, how can I just put my attention and get really good at one thing? And that thing for me started to become like Instagram, where is like my presence is really big on there. I really focus that mostly on there. And I think that has helped me with just like connecting with more people and just like, gaining that like trust factor and then like reaching out to people in that sense. But the way I started really was I did a lot of workshops locally, like at my yoga studio, that was somewhere I would go to. I would try to reach out to other places that I could do like workshops and things at just to talk about like a topic that I felt like was like I'm passionate about and I felt like people needed to know about. And then at the end of it, I'd be like, hey, like if you're struggling with this, like I got their email and like would have like a conversation. So like that was like where I started of just like slowly getting clients. And then I would run like some like detox groups. I didn't do a ton of them, but it did help bring in like, people being like, oh, this helped me so much. Um, that was kind of the start of it. And then I really did focus in on Instagram and start trying to build that up and just like building connections with people through there is how I started to really build up my clientele in that way.
Yeah, that's a really like an interesting takeaway I have from that is um it's interesting that you didn't just initially start on Instagram and social as because I think most people kind of think like, okay, I'm going to do this thing and this is what I'm good at, so this is what I'm going to focus my attention on, and then maybe it turns out that their niche is somewhere else and they're better at something else and they end up pivoting towards that and really mastering that. Because when I think of you, I think like you're really good at social media. I've seen your channels like and you do a lot of really really good content on social media. So I'm very surprised to learn that that wasn't your first inclination to just, okay, I'm good at Instagram, I'm doing that. And that you had to kind of get there because I think of you as like very natural and very, very good at social media and um, leveraging it. So I think
Yeah.
like an interesting takeaway is like maybe the thing that you gravitate towards first is not actually like the most important tool to your success like going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like the biggest thing is I try if, so some people love social media, some people hate social media. I have a love-hate
I
relationship
was
with
gonna
it.
say I think I have a little bit of both
Yeah, so
on
do
that.
I. I think the biggest thing if somebody is wanting to like start with social media and that be the thing, I think that's the way you're gonna reach more people. But if you're like, I
Sure.
just be local and like ripple effect into like referrals and that stuff, that's definitely like awesome too. But I found that just like being real, raw, and authentic is the best way to be instead of like scripting this and trying to do this. Like
Hmm.
the biggest feedback that I get and I really like appreciate from others, even like clients that like get on calls with me is they're like, the reason I wanted to have a conversation with you is because you just like seem so authentic and you seem so genuine. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm just being myself and I'm not going to be any different because then what are you going to get on the other side?
Yeah,
Something
I
like,
mean that makes total sense to me because people are coming to you, and not just you, anyone doing this with their vulnerabilities.
mhm.
And, if if the person isn't coming across as authentic or well-meaning or all the above, I think they're less likely to share their vulnerabilities with someone who doesn't seem like they're authentically invested in helping people and in the mission and sharing about themselves. So I'm not surprised to hear that. When you first started, if you could tell yourself something when you like now that you know now when you first started, what would you tell your past self? Something that would be really helpful to know then that you know now.
Yeah, to not give up when things are hard. Um, it's not like that sounds so like simple and I guess I don't know if that sounds cliche in any sort of way, but truly like it is not, there are going to be days, there's going to be weeks, they still have these days and weeks and things. People think on the outside, they're like, oh, it looks so easy. How are you getting all your clients and doing these things? And like, it takes definitely like some grit for sure, and also some like perseverance in the fact that like, this month might be not as great as the next month, but like I know that like if I keep pushing through, I'm setting myself up for success for that next month. And it's like not giving up because it's like, oh, this isn't working. Like it's not working in 1 month. I've just got to give up. Or I didn't get any clients and it was 2 or 3 months or something. I got to give up. And it's like pushing through those moments. It's like there was this I've had a mindset coach in my past, and kind of she always would say like watering your dirt. Like every single day you're watering the dirt until something blossoms in a way, and like you have these like non-negotiables in your life that you're always going to do. And I always just had like, okay, these are the things I'm going to do every day no matter what happens. And I know that that's going to be like, there's like a book like the compound effect, in a sense that it like compounds and compounds and compounds, where it's then going to lead to something that I didn't even know was going to happen. But if I didn't stay with that consistency of it and just like let it go, then I would have never been where I am today. And so I think the biggest thing is like not giving up, even if it's like seems really hard and it seems like you're not doing anything, you are doing something that's helping
Yeah.
you forward.
Yeah, I think that's great advice just in general for really anything you're doing. And half the battle's showing up. And it is a cliche, but it doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
It's a cliche because everybody says it and you hear it all the time. But just because it's a cliche doesn't mean there's no truth to it. It's actually really true. And just like establishing that consistency is like so important to doing like anything worthwhile and anything, you know, that's a little bit longer than a short term thing. If you're building something long term, it's like the consistency is a key. Um, and I want to ask you now about and this is a always a tough question for folks in our community, mainly because they are so mission driven and they're so mindful and caring towards their clients. But like the reality is you can't do what you do unless your business is somewhat profitable, if not very profitable, depending on, some people do it on the side, some people do it full time. So, different people need different success looks differently to different people depending on how you're structuring your business and how you're structuring your life and your career. But how do you strike the balance between helping your clients and putting their interests first while also making sure that what you're doing is financially viable?
Yeah, so I think the biggest lesson I learned by I guess you could say underselling or underpricing myself initially, because it seems like, oh no, like people are gonna pay me like to do this and to help them when like whatever, I'll just like help them. And there's still moments where I definitely help people longer than I like should, or like,
Sure.
whatever, but like not really. Like I just like love doing it, so that doesn't feel like work for me in a way. But I think the biggest thing is coming up with something like package wise or whatever that looks like for you, and feeling confident in it, and maybe going up a little higher than you even think that you can. And the reason being is because you're actually holding that person to a higher self than if you lowball yourself. Because
Mm.
what I have seen, I transitioned from different packages and programs and things, and I had this like way lower one that was just like, oh, whatever. And like the results that those clients got were not bad, but they were not as good as the ones that have invested more in their health. And so I think in a sense it's I'm giving back to that person to like be able to live their life fully versus just like, oh, like I feel bad, whatever, because then that's how they show up too, you know? And so I think that the whole mindset again around it is what's like more important, is like, and also how much energy are you wanting to put into it? Because I guess the more immersive of a package or more expensive it kind of is, the more on like my end, I feel like, okay, I have the time to do this and I can do this versus taking on a million trillion clients and trying to like fill up my like caseload in a sense. That's kind of like
Yeah.
my thought on it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's almost like you get out what you put in type of thing from
Mhm.
even from the client standpoint, so if you have a cheap package with, not much personal time or face time maybe, then the client is not the client saying, "Oh, I'm just doing this kind of
It's like
halfway," and
whatever.
but
Hmm.
if they're willing to invest, more money or more time and financial resources, then they're going to be like, well, I want to get my money's worth, so I'm gonna show up and take this more seriously. And then obviously, as everybody knows, when people do that, the results you get better results than if you're kind of just, going through the motions versus actually really immersing yourself and taking it seriously. So I think
Yeah.
that's actually really good advice because this is always a tough question and something that folks, I've talked to a bunch of ambassadors on these, and these are people that are ultra successful, making a lot of money, and they still say that they they struggle with it. It's
Mhm.
not something that people are like, oh, that was me 2 years ago and now I've conquered it. People at the highest level of the program and the highest level of health coaching, they're still like, I, I still have guilt in charging X amount for people because I just want to help people and stuff. And it always comes from a good place. But,
Yeah.
the reality of the world is, you have to charge for services and your time. Your time is so valuable and it's a finite resource, right? So, um, now I want to kind of transition over to the ambassador side of things a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, so, Kayla, you've had a lot of success in the program. Some of it has been a little lucky, and I don't mean that as
Oh, that's totally.
I don't mean that to denigrate you because you are really successful and you've been amazing actually in the program the last couple of years, your ascent. But you've won a couple raffles, which is why I say you've been a little lucky because there was like last year, I think it was 70 plus people
Mhm.
and five were picked. So every year as the challenge grows, the only unfortunate thing, everything, it's always great and there's more people being helped, the company does better and it's all good for everybody. The only unfortunate part of that is we get every year we get more and more people that qualify for the raffle to win one of the five spots to go to the Reimagining Health Summit at the end of the year. And like I remember, because I've run this program since its inception, I remember the first year I want to say there was like 20 people that qualified for the raffle, and we were picking five. So you essentially had a 25% chance, which, isn't phenomenal odds, but you have a 1 in 4 chance of being selected. That's not bad. And now I think, like I said last year, you were part of a group of like 70, 75 people, and we still only pick five. So those odds have gotten, every year they get a little bit worse. Um, and it's just the nature of the program growing so rapidly. But you were selected last year and the year before, I believe, and I think you got picked for something else too at some point. So, I was always joking, you need to give me your lottery numbers, but um, but that's not to take anything away from you because you had to qualify in the first place and you have qualified. So, you've been to two Reimagining Health Summits as a two-time winner of the challenge. You've won another contest where you've had a one-on-one call with Dr. Cabral. So you've really like ascended in the program. And I'm just wondering, like, what would you say to other ambassadors who want to experience a similar level of success or achievement, or at least want to be in the running because, some of these things are just chance and you have to have kind of a little luck on your side, but
Yeah.
you have to be in it too. So like what would you recommend to get to that level?
It's really funny that when you're bringing back up the first year that I won, because I had no idea I don't know if I ever told you this, but I wasn't following along. I was just beginning like being an ambassador, taking on clients like I think that summer. Like
Okay.
literally when the contest started in a weird way. And I don't know, I was just like, oh, like I when I love something, everybody knows that I love something and it probably makes them want it because I talk about how much I love something. And I was just telling everybody about Equilife and the detox and you all need to do this. And I had no focus on, I had no idea. Like I was just like, here, get this. And I just remember getting tagged one day. It said something like I won whatever, and I was laughing because I'm like, oh, probably some DNS or something.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it was the
watched
trip.
the whole video and it was the trip. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I do
so that
remember
was
that.
really fun. Yeah, so that was really cool. But I think the biggest thing is like, I'm gonna come back to like the authenticity side of things because like I lead with like everything I do or I share, I do. Like I truly do. And I'm really passionate about that. And I think that like is what pushes people to be like, oh, I want to give that a try. And it's in a place of like, I want you to be healthy. So like do this situation versus like, oh, I'm trying to like sell this and I want to make money and I want to whatever being an ambassador. And I think the like reason maybe that I've excelled in the spaces comes back to that authenticity because I didn't stem from a place of even thinking I was going to make a career out of this. I was working as an occupational therapist at the time and just like using it as a fun like side gig and let's take on a couple clients. And then it just started to ripple into this like thing that like now, I mean, I left that job. I have a team now. Like it's just completely swapped positions in that way.
That's awesome. That was going to be my follow-up when you mentioned that if you've actually gone out full time. I know you said you do
Yeah.
yoga classes, but I was just curious, like, so you
Yeah.
actually do this full time now,
Yep.
mainly? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I jumped last year.
Awesome.
Kind of like it took me a while. Like I kind of was just like really like kind of hustling a little bit in the sense of like doing so much. And I was like, no, it's literally time because I'm holding myself back if I don't take that jump.
Yeah. Wow. So there's a couple things that I think are worth like reiterating here. Number one, like I think it speaks to the not to not to plug my own challenge here, but I think it does speak to the the uniqueness and the what makes this challenge so special in that you can actually win and do something really cool, like attend the summit, which anyone who's been to the summit will tell you it's really worthwhile. Like the networking opportunities are incredible as well.
Hmm.
Um, you can do that by really when you first start. If you, you know, if you get off to a good enough start, you don't have to be like the best person in the program to go. Does the best person sales wise go as well? Yes, of course. You know, we want to recognize the people who are absolutely killing it. But it does actually allow folks who are just getting started to actually achieve right away and get a taste of success right away and actually, you know, attend something where you're talking to other ambassadors and learning from them and, you know, meeting people within the industry. And so that's number one is really cool. And number two, I wanted to highlight too, getting back to the fact that you were surprised that you were even in the running. And this was summer of 24, right? And I'm just establishing, and you know, this will be published and people will be watching this in the past, but right now this is June of 26. So we're talking 2 years. So in 2 years, you went from not even knowing that you were in the running within the challenge to now you're full time doing this.
Yeah.
And I think it just shows that like there is a need for this and there's like you can grow very rapidly. You know, if you're getting clients and you're doing things the right way. And I just think it's like a really interesting case study as to like how quickly things can take shape for you. And you specifically, I like now I think you're entering the top 10 now within the program the last
Yeah.
couple weeks. Yeah. So like so you're not even on the fringe anymore. You know, you're
Hmm.
killing it. So I just like I wanted to set that timeline for people watching because it's not that long. We're not talking, oh, you started 10 years ago and now you made it. And people are like, okay, great, but like, you know, do I want to slave away for a decade to maybe to maybe get to where she is? Like, you know, you can do this pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
it's really impressive. Um, and you know, kind of staying with the theme of the ambassador program, one of the perks is earning commissions. And I wanted to ask you, like, how do you use your commissions? Because there's, you know, there's it's money that's coming to you, and some of it's passive, some of it is, you know, more active with acquiring new clients, and people have different philosophies as to how to leverage and use their commissions. And I'm just curious, like, how do you use your commissions? Do you reinvest it into your company? Do you take it as like your salary or part of your salary? Like, just kind of like give everyone an idea of like how do you how do you
Yeah,
use that?
I feel like both. It kind of depends on like what's going on, what season I'm in. Sometimes like summers are a little bit slower, so I'll use it to kind of like support different things. And like since I am paying a team, like that's something I keep in mind. But something I do love to do and is kind of with like my clients at this point is if there's something that comes up or like I don't know, not that this is the greatest example, but kind of it just happened this past week. One of our clients under one of my practitioners, she just like lost one of her parents unexpectedly. That's so terrible, like obviously, but I like to I almost use it as a way that I can give back to my clients or give them more experiences, whether it's bringing on guests or in her scenario, I like got her some different like supplements and things and I put something together from my team and I sent it to her. And like I think in that sense like that's not something I would typically be able to like do but like I kind of use that extra money, you can say.
Yeah, yeah.
And like those things, I'll bank it in that way of like I give back to my clients, or I use it in a way that I do like monthly guest calls that like people come on and I pay them to come on and like speak on a special topic to my clients as well. So I feel like having the extra like ambassador or affiliate kind of pay in a sense has allowed me to give back to my community more and make it more valuable for them to like keep healing as well too.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome answer. I think that's something a little bit different than I've heard before. Because like, and that's why I asked the question, because there's a lot of different, obviously extra money is always great when you have a business. So there's no wrong answer or wrong way to do it. But I'm always curious, like how people, because most of the ambassadors are health coaches, and they have their own packages, and that's how they're making their, you know, the bulk of their income is through, the consults with their clients and that way. But like, especially once you start growing within the program, the commissions are not insignificant after a while. And I've heard like, I think I talked to Dawn and she mentioned that she uses the commissions to invest in new technology for her business. So
Yeah.
like if there's like a program that she wants to use or some automation, like she'll, and you have to pay for it, like she'll take out of there to like reinvest in her technology side, which is like a phenomenal way to do it. So, but like, yeah, the giving back angle is really interesting. And I think that's like, yeah, I mean, you're building like goodwill that way with your clients, and I'm sure it makes you feel good, which is, not insignificant,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a really interesting answer. So I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Um, and kind of related to commissions, well, definitely related to commissions is, um, how do you broach the topic with your clients that you earn commissions on the products that you recommend? Because for some people that's like an automatic red flag, that it's like, okay, like she just wants me to do this because she's going to earn, her commission on it if I agree to buy it.
Yeah.
Or I'm I mean at least I can be a skeptical person. So that's how I would always approach it if someone said, "Hey, I think you should do this." Oh, by the way, buy it so I can earn a little money. Like kind of a red flag for me.
Hmm.
And so I'm just curious, like, how do you navigate that? Because that is a concern that I hear a lot. And obviously, like, as I mentioned, most folks in our community are, very altruistic, and all they want to do is help their clients. But like that can be like a little bit of a barrier. So I'm wondering how you handle that with your clients.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the sense there's not a ton of conversation around it because I kind of frame it in a way of like, this is how we're going to be able to support you the best we possibly can. And I do have a lot of clients running labs through Equalife as well too. So it's almost like they have to be underneath me to be able to
Hmm.
see their labs in the first place.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of part of it as well. But also, I'm just so again, like back to being like just honest and authentic and like explaining the why. Like, I'm not just like, here, take this, I love this, or whatever. It's like, one, I practice what I preach, and two, I always am like, I'm very like logical with like on the side of like picking supplements and being intentional. And I don't also pinhole to the fact like, I use a lot of Equalife, but like it's not, I'm like being honest, like it's not the only thing that I use too. And
Sure.
there's other things that I come in cohesion together. And I tell them, I'm like, it's to give you the best of everything. And I also would say with like I don't promote like brands unless I use them, love them, have researched them. And I feel like for me too, I explain that to clients. I'm like, I want you to use this. Like, it's like somebody's asked me before, can I find the DNS anywhere else? I'm like, there's nothing better than it. So why are we trying to find it somewhere else?
Right,
Like,
right.
I just don't, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm really big on explaining and educating. Like, there's third party testing with these. You don't want to go on Amazon and get this thing. You'd rather just get it through me. And like, I don't know. I'm like, if I'm recommending it to you and I'm doing the work to recommend you and give you this link in a sense, anyways, you're just supporting me to be your practitioner even longer. So I feel like that's like kind of my angle. And I think that since I'm so heavy on education to my clients why they would be utilizing something, it's almost like, I don't know, in a sense, I'm like, I kind of deserve that because I just educated them so much more
Sure,
on
no, absolutely.
here's your link and like move on, you know?
Yeah,
So I feel like it's like, I mean, the company's gonna be, they're gonna get it through the company anyway, so might as well support the person that's supporting you as well, too, is my thought
sure.
behind it. So I
Yeah,
think that, and something else, like I just wanna, like, I guess say in that sense, because I get it, it is like uncomfortable, like, but I think also you want to be in a place that like for me like I can give back to my clients or you want to like to do more you have to kind of receive more in a sense as well too like we can't pour from an empty cup situation and like running a business and running a more successful business you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable or like
yeah,
stay stuck like that's kind of my mindset now. Is
yeah. No, that's
that
great.
helpful? Hopefully that's not
No,
too like
that's very helpful. I like to ask that question because it's a concern that I hear all the time. Like I craft these questions based on all the feedback that I always get.
yeah.
And all the what I always hear is like, oh, like how do I tell my clients that I'm getting money on the stuff that I'm recommending? It's always like and so that's why I'm like, well, let me ask the people who are doing it the best.
Yeah,
You know?
I think though too that like just makes me think again, it's like a barrier in mindset. Like I think people would be more surprised that, people want to support us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I
it's like
mean? I
supporting a
think,
local business. When you go to like a
yeah,
local restaurant or something over a chain, you're
totally.
supporting like someone local in your community or just a local person in general, even if they're not in your community necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the mindset behind it, because if the reason we feel uncomfortable, it's almost like we feel uncomfortable for them, but it's our own internal battle, not theirs.
Yeah.
They probably don't feel uncomfortable, but we just do.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I can't remember there's a name for it, but it's like when you're at a party and it's like the invisible person or something where like you think everybody's looking at you and thinking about you and like nobody actually
Nobody
is
is. Yeah,
type
no,
of
that's
thing. And
exactly it.
all of your insecurities and anxieties are your own creation. So
Mhm.
it's probably something it's along those lines, I would think probably, where
Yeah.
like it's probably not a issue for a lot of people. But like in your head, you're making it an issue. Not you specifically, but just, anybody. So
100%. No,
yeah,
that's great.
that's interesting. So as far as like you've experienced a lot of perks within the ambassador program, and I'm curious, like what was your favorite one, or what is your favorite one, if it's like a current ongoing thing? Just like curious, like what's your favorite part of the ambassador program, or what's your favorite perk?
Yeah, I think I mean, I guess two things. Like, I think it's really great that, I mean, of course, like going to RHS and like, I don't know if I did, like, it was kind of an interesting time because I didn't know anything really about it and just fully immersed myself into it. And so like that was such a great perk in that moment. But I think after the after effect of it, I would say is like for me, and I think a lot of people say this as well too, probably, but like the community side of it is like huge for me. Like I have like it's the craziest thing from that first RHS, like I have made connections that like I still like talk to now or like we're like hey are you going to RHS this year let's get like a hotel like together
Yeah,
like that kind of thing where um I don't know I feel like every time I go now it's almost like giving that even back so other people that are new feel that same sense of like community as well and I think that's why it ripples and dominoes so much because the community is so great in all different angles and everybody just wants the best for one another and like supporting one another and we're just like all like super friendly. Like,
yeah,
never
it
met
is.
a community that's like that. And I guess in the sense of like ambassador perk wise, it's really cool that every time like I do hop on Facebook or I'm in tag something, I'll like see people on there. I'm like, oh, I know that person, or oh, that's so exciting. And I'm like kind of cheering them on, not just like, oh, great, I'm here. Like I'm kind of like, oh, that's really cool. Like they're like
Yeah, yeah.
successful or where they're at. So in the sense too of the challenge, I love like checking in every week at this point and just being like, oh yay, she made the list, or oh like wow, she's doing really well. She just like jumped in a week. It's just like kind of cool to I guess see that, especially when you know more. And yeah, I guess long story short, it comes back to like my favorite thing is the community side of it and like being immersed in that, and also that I was physically able to like meet a lot of these people and am connected with them now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hear that all the time, all the time. And I see it. I think I mentioned to you before we started talking, like we go to the award dinners, if you're a 100-day challenge winner, you go to the award dinners and I sit at the table with I always tell, when the people who make the plans um, set the seats at the dinner. And I always tell them I want to sit with the ambassadors because those are the people. I don't want to sit with the employees or
That's
anybody.
so
So
good.
it's always me and a bunch of ambassadors. It's never and all the other employees of the company or elsewhere. So that's always like because they always ask me like where do I want to sit? I was like I don't care who I sit with or where I sit. Just like put me with the ambassadors because it's we're online and virtual, and I think it's important to like have some FaceTime and develop those relationships. This is what I do every day, and the point being is I see that all the time. I see people collaborating and making connections, and it's actually a really powerful thing. And I know people. I've heard the same feedback that you gave, where people are like, "Oh, I'm rooting for that person like from afar," and or I they were just starting out when I met them, and now they're like killing it, and it's like amazing to see like how successful they've been, and now for you specifically, like when you first went, you were like mentee essentially, right? And now you're, like, if you go again this year, you'll be mentor, closer to mentor than mentee, which is really cool in 2 years. And that brings me to my last question. And I think you're like uniquely positioned to answer this.
Mm.
Um, if you had to, like, what's the most important piece of advice that you would give someone who's starting their business out and wants to be successful like pretty quickly? And I say you're qualified to answer this because you've literally done it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's like if you could boil it down to one thing.
Yeah, I think that's hard. One thing I'll say, like, I think every single common theme that I've come back to is the mindset side of things and how you enter every single situation, thing, what you do. But when it comes down to actually like launching and going forward and being successful, I think like not trying to do it all by yourself and just figure it out. Like I think Dr. Cabral always said it so nicely, and even like the programs and things, like he gives you frameworks for giving clients like protocols and things so you're not just left alone. Like utilize those frameworks
Mm,
instead of just trying to reinvent something. And then when you start to build into your practice, you can start to be like, oh, I love this. That's where I've started to pull in different things or add things or whatever. And it's like just starting that simple way and using somebody if you can to help you and get some sort of framework, even if that is at the end of the IHP program, like going back to those business modules that are there and like being like, okay, let me just copy this. Why am I trying to come up with a package and a thing and a whatever? And let me just do that because somebody was successful with this. And then moving forward from there and you figure it out as you go rather than trying to, again, reinvent the
hmm
wheel over and over again. I don't know if that's
Sure.
the answer, but that is like pretty much what I would say is that's gonna excel you the most is having somebody that's been in the position that you want to be in to teach you to get there.
I think that's amazing. Thanks, Kayla. Is there anything else you want to share with the community before we go today, or?
I don't think so. I just love being a part of it, and I'm excited to hopefully see everybody again, like at RHS and meet new people. And if anybody ever has any questions, I would love to reciprocate what Rebecca did for me. Like, if anybody does, I'm always more than happy. I've gotten on calls with others that have become IHPs and things, and I'm always more than happy to like chat and guide people in the directions that they want to go in and, see what's kind of possible there because it is possible, and I'm happy to be a part of like that and be in the conversation if anybody ever wants to be too.
That's amazing. And actually, I meant to, you reminded me in saying that because I wanted to actually ask you earlier during this. You can plug yourself. Like, what's your name of your business? Where can we find you?
Oh yeah, of
Online, on
course.
social.
Sure, yeah, it's at Cayla Noel Health. It's not spelled any way you would think it would be. It's Cayla with a C, Noelle Health, and you can find me there. I get a lot of messages from actually like potential IHPs and things, so I would love to hear from actual like IHPs as well too, and like
Awesome.
where people are at. But that's the where.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Kayla. This was amazing. You're a
Yeah.
wealth of information, and looking forward to seeing you again, hopefully this year at RHS.
Yes. Thanks so much, Rick.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.